So I woke up in my bed. Or I thought I woke up in my bed. It was, okay, sleep paralysis is a very hard thing to sort of explain because everyone has it differently, and obviously when you're kind of asleep or dreaming or, not knowing exactly what's happening to you, it's kind of hard to translate that into a conversation, so bear with me here. But so what happened was I was about 4, and I woke up one morning in my bed, or I thought I woke up, but you know when you wake up and you just kind of lie there and you don't try to move and you're still tired or whatever? That's what I was doing. So I opened my eyes in bed, and for a second there I just thought, okay, I'm awake, whatever. And then I tried to move and I just could not move. And nothing scary happened, I just could not move. And at the time I was just so confused that I didn't really panic or anything like that, and I was still kind of tired, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to try to go back to sleep. And the thing about that is that I couldn't close my eyes. I mean, my eyes were closed, and I know I was asleep, but the thing is, I could see the room around me just so vividly. Like like I said, when I first woke up, I thought I just woke up. Like, I thought I just opened my eyes and that's what it is, but when I tried to close my eyes again to go back to sleep, I couldn't, so I'm like, okay, so this isn't real, I guess. I mean, that's not what I thought as a kid, because I was like 4 years old. I had no idea what was going on. But as far as I can remember, I think I just went back to sleep and I woke up later, and I was like, okay, that was weird. I don't know what that was about. So yeah, that was the first time it happened, and I think it took a few years until it happened again. In my childhood, it didn't happen so much, but when I became a teenager, it really became frequent. Like, it happened so often. But whenever it would happen when I was a kid, it was never anything scary at the time. It was just weird, because, again, I'd wake up, and I wouldn't be able to move. And I guess I would be hallucinating the room around me. Like, I could still hear in real life, like, the TV, or, whatever, if I left, like, a movie playing or something like that, I could still hear it. So I knew that was real, but the room around me and what I was seeing, I guess, wasn't. But yeah, nothing scary happened at the time, and a lot of people have been asking me, is sleep paralysis scary? It is fucking terrifying. It's completely terrifying, yes. And I know that some people say, oh, it's not scary, and I'm like, okay, if you don't think sleep paralysis is scary, I don't think you've experienced it before. But anyways, so I can't remember the first time it got really dark and scary, but I think that would have happened in my early teens. But by the time it transitioned from being nothing to being fucking terrifying, it's always been pretty much the same. So again, at first it used to just be me waking up in my room, not being able to move, and sort of just dealing with it until it passed. Or I would wake up again later on. When I got into my teenage years, it turned into what most people describe sleep paralysis as. And what that would be is kind of the same thing I just said. You wake up, or you think you wake up. I mean, I think it varies for everyone, but in my case, I would wake up, and I'd see the room around me, and I'd think, okay, I'm awake, but I'm not going to move yet. And when I go to try to move, I can't move. And what's bad about that is, from my perspective, you can still kind of see the room around you. You still have your peripherals in check or whatever. Usually what will happen is I'll see something in the door, like in the distance. I'll see a figure or something like that approaching me very, very, very slowly and very eerily. And again, I can't do anything because I can't move, and there's just nothing I can do, and this thing is coming towards me very slowly and very menacingly. And the closer it gets, the more my heart rate starts to go up, and the more I start to panic. And it never does touch me, though. By the time whatever I'm dreaming about or whatever it is gets close enough to me, I usually wake up sweating and hyperventilating and completely scared out of my mind. So yeah, that's the usual thing. Now on top of that, when whatever I'm seeing starts to approach me, that's the only indication to me that it is a dream. Before that, I have no idea, unless I try to move. But if I just open my eyes, like, there's nothing that tells me that I'm dreaming or that I'm not seeing reality. It's completely real to me. I'm like, I'm just in my room, this is just what it is. And, you know, I'll just be in my bed, and then out of nowhere, this fucking thing will start walking towards me. And I think it's completely real until I realize, okay, holy shit, I'm having one of my episodes again. What do I do? And I know consciously that I cannot fight it, but I still try to. And that, you know, that's why I wake up hyperventilating and sometimes screaming. But the other thing, the only other thing that happens, other than whatever it is, whatever figure it is that I see, is the room starts to become darker. I mean, I guess it's sort of like, you know, like those movies, like those psychological horror movies where they'll be in like an asylum or some shit during daytime, or some place that looks normal, and then as things get progressively more fucked up, the walls start to turn black or bloody or that kind of shit. That's what starts to happen, and then it turns into this fucking... Sometimes I just won't be able to get any sleep. I'm too stressed out. I just can't relax. I can't do anything. Because I'll have a week straight of being terrified to go to bed because of that stuff happening. So, like, the you know, if I have a long string of time without having any sleep paralysis episodes, and then I have one night, or sorry, not night, it never happens at night. If I have a day where it comes back again, then I just know that I'm in for a week of mental torture. So there's not much that I'm capable of doing during that time. I mean, I try to keep myself distracted, but, you know, there's only so much you can do when you've been awake for so long, and, you know, strong word, but psychosis starts to set in when you stay up too long, and you know you need to sleep, and you're tired, but you just can't sleep because you know that this thing is going to happen to you. So, you know, that's just something that I kind of have to deal with from time to time until it passes. So, that sucks. Let me see. There's more questions that people ask me. What do you see? Okay, like I just described, it's usually a shadowy kind of thing. And by the way, people have been asking if it's paranormal. I'll get into that later. If you want my answer now, in my opinion, no, it's really not. But what I see is, yeah, usually it's this shadow person, I guess, which a lot of people have apparently related to. I mean, but other people, sometimes they see a woman, or they see whatever it is, or they see a hag, I guess. You know, like, everyone kind of sees a different thing, but I think the most common thing for people to see is a shadow person, like what I was explaining. And the thing is, it's not always been a shadow person. It's changed, but only a few times. Literally just a few times. Out of my entire life of having sleep paralysis, it's always been that. But there was one time where it changed to a woman, and one time where it changed to a fetus. And instead of the fetus coming through my door, it crawled over my bed. So that was a different level of fucked up for me at the time. That was unexpected, because, you know, I've gotten so used to seeing the same thing. Whenever it changes, it's so stressful, because then you don't know. You just don't know, like, if something different is going to happen, or if you're not going to wake up, or if you're, you know, if you're kind of trapped in your body, so to speak. You don't know if you're going to wake up. It's like, are you just going to be paralyzed forever? There's always that fear that you're not going to escape the situation that you're in. Do you ever wake up still feeling like you're dreaming? Sometimes yes. In terms of sleep paralysis episodes, not necessarily, because, you know, again, I'll wake up and I'm panicking, and my heart rate's up, and I'll be sweating or whatever, you know, so I'll know that that's done with, and I'll be very relieved. But again, you know, there's also that element of, like, again, insomnia and just staying up for days at a time. And when you do that, you know, your mind starts to play tricks on you. So, yeah, there are waves of sleep paralysis that I get, where even when I'm awake, I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's not real. I'm seeing things even though I'm awake. That happens quite a bit. So, technically, yes, that does happen to me, but I don't think it's because of the sleep paralysis. It just happens because I'm trying to avoid it, and I'm staying awake too long, and I'm putting my mind under all this pressure. So, is it because of stress? I can't speak for everyone, but I'm going to say that in terms of my case, it is definitely related to stress. During points in my life where things become more stressful than they need to be, I definitely end up having a lot more waves or, episode strings of sleep paralysis. So yeah, that's sort of the funny thing about it, is that if I get stressed out, I'll most likely end up having waves of sleep paralysis. And because of that, I'll try to stay awake, and staying up too long and not being able to get any work done stresses me out more. So it's kind of like this downward spiral of just like not being able to control anything about my life. So it's very stressful when it does happen. So yeah. Let me see. Do you ever have any out-of-body experiences? Generally speaking, with sleep paralysis, no, I don't. I've had one where it was really weird, and this has never happened any other time before, because it's always the same thing. It's always, I'm in my bed, I can't move, something comes towards me, and I freak out, and I wake up scared and and miserable. But there was one time where I was having what seemed like the beginning of a sleep paralysis episode, where I couldn't move, and I'm still dreaming at this point, by the way. I couldn't move, and then I got up and walked around my place and then got back in bed and I couldn't move again. I don't know why that time was different, but it was basically the same thing I've always experienced, but it had a little shift in it for some reason. I don't know why. But it happened. Let me see. So a lot of people have been asking me if anything helps it or if I've gotten used to it over time. So short answer, have I gotten used to it? No. I've gotten less scared of it, as in when I wake up from it, I'm like, okay, it's over, I'm fine, nothing's wrong, I need to try to sleep again. Like, I'm consciously trying to be better at handling it after it happens. There's nothing I can do when it happens, but there's something to be said for just acknowledging the problem and trying to tackle it like that instead of just being completely scared of it all the time. But yeah, I'm not used to it. There's really nothing that I've ever been able to do that stops it. There's stuff that I do to try to prevent it. And I've talked about it before, I think on a couple streams and in a video that no longer exists, but usually what helps for me is, and I always make sure to do this because I'm fucking paranoid about it happening. I always sleep with either music playing or preferably either a video or like a podcast or, that kind of stuff. Music is okay, but I need to be able to hear someone's voice specifically. And the reason for that is because, like I said, when I first experienced it when I was a child and there wasn't any sort of figure that was coming at me, I discovered that I could still hear the room around me. Even if I was hallucinating it, I could, and visually hallucinating it, I could still, or dreaming it, whatever, I could still hear what was actually happening, and I know that because I specifically put on a VHS or a DVD or whatever it was. And I've found that, over the years, I've found that having something there, usually a voice, helps me pull out of it. Because what happens whenever I have sleep paralysis and that thing is coming towards me, I try to wake myself up. And according to people who have been around me, sometimes I wake up screaming for people to wake me up, or I start talking in my sleep, asking them to wake me up. And, that's exactly what I'm trying to do when I see this thing coming towards me. Now the thing is, again, I know that it's an episode, and I know that it's happening to me. And I'm very familiar with the situation at this point. But no matter how much I know about and how much I understand it and what causes it, I'm still not able to stay calm in that situation and let that thing come to me. Again, it's never come to the point of contact with me whenever I have these dreams, but I'm always afraid of what'll happen if it does. I'm like, I don't know, am I going to die if it does? I don't know, it's all this irrational shit, but I've found that sometimes I'm able to pull out of it or wake up earlier, like if it's more far, like sometimes I've been able to wake up where I just see it come in the door and it's not close to me, but then I already wake up. And, that saves me a lot of anxiety and whatnot, so. But in terms of making that actually happen, there's nothing I can do to really make it happen, but sometimes if I have a voice in the background or a movie playing or music or something like that, and I can hear what's actually around me, I don't know why, but I'm able to pull out of it easier. Or I'm able to grab onto reality easier, I guess. So I always, always, always sleep with something playing in the background. So. Also have issues with, I believe people call them night terrors. these very, very, very intense nightmares, which basically result in the same thing. I'll wake up sweaty and hyperventilating and screaming. Or talking in my sleep, or whatever it is. But, yeah, I have a lot of sleep problems. If it's not sleep paralysis that happens, and I'm not having a wave or series of sleep paralysis episodes, then it's very likely that instead I'm having night terrors, where I do sleep and I'm fine, and I'm having a regular sort of nightmare, but it's very intense, very vivid, and, I'll wake up still in a lot of distress. And there are times where just nothing happens and I sleep normally, but every so often it's either the night terrors or the sleep paralysis. So I'm kind of screwed there. Which is the worst? If you're asking which is the worst between the two, I think sleep paralysis for me is worse because there's just nothing I can do about it. Like if you're having night terrors, it's I think nightmares are more familiar to people than something like sleep paralysis is, because sure, there's terrifying things happening to you, but, it still feels like a dream, and you don't feel constricted, you don't feel like you're suffocating, which, by the way, sleep paralysis, a lot of the times I feel like I'm suffocating, which is, again, why I get so afraid when it happens, because I'm kind of like, I hope I'm not about to die. I hope this isn't how I die. I don't want to die like this. Fucking sucks. Do you also feel like you start shaking a lot? During sleep paralysis, no. At least not that I can tell. I mean, when I wake up, I'm kind of flailing around sometimes, and I'm hyperventilating and I'm freaked out, so, at that point I'll catch it if I'm shaking or if I'm whatever, but as for when it's actually happening, I don't feel it at all. I'm completely dead still and I can't move, I can't do anything. Horror films don't help, probably. Honestly, horror films and anything that I look at... cannot talk today. And I always say that when a microphone's in front of me. Anything that I watch that's horror-related, or, stuff on the internet that's kind of creepy, I do not believe at all that contributes to my sleep issues. Necessarily. I mean, because, whenever I see horror movies, sure, some of them will creep me out, but I know why they creep me out, and I know they're fiction, I know they're not real, they're nothing that I really necessarily carry with me into the rest of the day. Have you ever had a sleepwalking problem? Not that I know of. As far as I know, I don't. I mean, okay, wait. Again, these things are a little bit difficult to talk about because everyone experiences them differently and labels them different things. I've had times, apparently, where I'm awake, like my eyes are open. I mean, these are accounts from people who have lived with me. And, I'm apparently fully awake, and I just disappear in the middle of the night, and they'll find me, in the backyard or, down the street or some shit. And I'm like, I don't remember that, but okay. But I don't know if I can call that sleepwalking, because apparently I'll be awake. My eyes are open and I'm semi-responsive, so I'm not... Again, I don't really know exactly how sleepwalking works. I'm not sure how alert people are when they sleepwalk, so I have no idea if that's technically a form of sleepwalking. As for what I just mentioned and, disappearing at times, that's happened a handful of times in my life, but it's not nearly as common as the sleep paralysis and night terror sort of stuff. So it's not something that I've ever put that much thought into, but that's definitely happened to me before, where I just kind of, I guess I get up in the dead of the night and I go somewhere and I don't really have that much of a recollection of it. I kind of remember some of it, I remember what's around me and seeing the things outside, but I don't remember going out there. If that makes any sense. Have you seen a therapist about this? Again, no, I have not. I've had therapists before for other things, but I've never brought up my sleep problems, which is probably stupid of me. I probably should have mentioned that, now shouldn't I? What does it feel like to be scared of sleep paralysis? I've never had the feeling of absolute helplessness and wonder how it would feel. Let me see. When you're actually there having an episode, it is just... God, I don't even know how to describe it. It is so scary. It is so scary. And I mean, even if it wasn't, something psychological, and I mean, imagine, nothing to do with sleep here. Imagine being in bed tied down, for example. Like you wake up tied up to your bed, and there are fucking burglars there or something, and you don't know it. You're just tied to your bed, and your door's open, your bedroom door is open. You're alone at home, so no one's there to help you. And you hear people in the next room, and you're fucking tied to your bed, so someone's there and something's fucked up. And then you hear them in the next room, and then one of them starts to slowly come towards you. You don't know what he's gonna do to you. You don't know if he's about to fucking slit your throat. It's kind of the same feeling. It's like you're just so helpless there, and like there's nothing that you can do to get out of that situation. And again, even if you know that it's not real, even if you know that it's an episode happening in your head, even if you know the reason why things like that happen, like, obviously you can explain it rationally, but even with that, it is still incredibly terrifying. Like, I feel like there's no way to get around the panic that happens when something, it's we're wired that way. It's just nature. Like, I don't think there's a way to condition yourself to not be completely scared shitless in that situation. Now, that's what it's like when you're actually having the episode. As for being scared of sleep paralysis itself, like I said, there are times where, or weeks at a time, where I can't get any sleep, I can't do anything productive, I can't get any work done because I am terrified to go to sleep, and it's taking a toll on me, and every day it gets worse until it eventually passes, and I just have to take a chance that, hopefully it won't happen again today, I'm sorry, it never happens at night. I don't know why, I could never explain it, I don't know, because I know for other people it happens whenever they sleep at night, whatever it is, but for me, it only happens when it's daytime, and I cannot explain that. I've never had a single experience of it, no matter how many times I've gone through it, it's never been at night, and that's one of the things I try to do. I try to sleep at night to try to just avoid it, to try to get away from it, and it works. That works every time, but the problem is, I'm just gonna say I'm nocturnal. I'm a night owl. I'm much more active during the nighttime. I've always been that way. I've always liked the night, and I've always found myself awake, when everyone else is sleeping. I usually like to go to bed when the sun comes up. Like, when I see the sun coming up, I'm like, okay, now it's bedtime, if I'm going to sleep. But again, the problem with being like that is just the fact that I cannot guarantee that something isn't going to happen. I've never found an explanation for that, because out of all the stuff I've seen in terms of, like, other people's experiences with sleep paralysis, I've never found anyone else who only had it at a certain time of day. So that one's weird to me. I don't know how to explain that. I don't know why it happens to me like that. I mean, I'm sure there's an explanation, if I went to doctors and stuff, they could explain it to me, but I just don't know as of yet.